Hey, everybody, thank you so much for chiming in again to our YouTube channel, Rodney and Tiffany Bustle. Today, we wanted to talk about one of the chapters. It's called Barely Holding On. It's a chapter that I kind of it's a chapter that I describe as one of the challenging times during our separation. Basically, just talks about how I maintained during that time, especially when I first moved in. It was a scary feeling. There were times when I just felt like I just didn't know what to do, just how to handle what was going on. Even later on in the year, when it was time to renew my lease, there was a decision there that I had to make, and I'm like, do I sign another lease? What do I do? I felt like I was barely holding on because I really didn't know which direction to go. There's a scripture, Hebrews 13:5. It says, "For he himself has said, I will never desert you nor forsake you." And there were times that I felt like I was left with no answers, no direction, no path. It's a very scary feeling, very uncomfortable feeling. I probably made the move from my house without consulting God first. I just made the move and just hoped that He would bless it. And so now that I'm there, now what? God has blessed me with opportunities at that time. They just kind of came out of nowhere. Someone had invited me to speak and be a member or team player for what we call the Great Banquet. It's a weekend Christian retreat. It was a great opportunity for me to go and be around other people and share a testimony. At that time, I was separated, but I was able to really talk to how God was keeping me even through that period of time. Even with that, I started to develop other opportunities at another church. Out of the blue, God just placed in my lap an opportunity to minister of music opportunity. I've never experienced that ever in my life, to be a minister of music where I would be teaching, directing, and just being over a choir and musicians. I believe it actually helped me grow there too as well. So all along, while I felt like I was barely holding on with not knowing what I'm doing, God was keeping me through that whole period of time. He was growing me in so many different areas. So I just wanted to share with ladies who have, or ladies or guys who have made a decision to make a move, to do something like that, to separate or for a time, allowing God to use you in whatever way possible. Because it may be a time that He is trying to grow you up. Here all along, I'm thinking, you know what, God, get him. While I'm away, take care of him, get him right. If we're going to ever get back together, which I highly doubt, because it just didn't seem like we were ever going to be together again. Things had just been too destroyed. Trust had been destroyed and ruined. Everything had just been ruined. But Lord, get him right. as was my mindset for a very long time. But during that time, before I even realized it, God was growing me in so many different areas. He was helping me to learn how to rely on Him and stand firm in Him for a long time in so many different areas. So that scripture helped me during the time when I thought I was alone in the decisions that I was making and all the things that I was doing. I didn't feel as alone because I knew He was right there all along. He was doing some things. I couldn't see it right then and there. I didn't even recognize when He was actually instilling some things in me at that time, but He was. He never left. I may have left the house and called myself running away from the problem, but God was right there all along. And not only with me, He was with Rodney. Even though Rodney was still doing his own thing, and he mentioned in one of our earlier episodes that he struggled. He was still torn and toiling along with who he was outside of the house and who he was inside. That was God working. So I praise God for whoever was out there praying for us. Because I know a lot of times I failed at that praying part. For many days I failed to pray, and it was simply because I didn't know what to pray, and I didn't know that it was really making much of a difference.
I was going to ask you a question like, when was the time that you felt like God had left you or forsaken you? Was there ever a time?
I did. I remember taking a walk one day, and I remember that my heart, I just had such a big, large hole in my heart when I realized that this is real. I am actually living a single life. I'm actually needing to learn how to live a new life all of a sudden after years of doing life with this person that we made a pact. We were not leaving one another, period. And I was really frustrated at God that he would allow this to happen. And so I felt forsaken. I felt like Rodney left me and God left me at that point. Like that hurt in my heart. It was just like, it was horrible. It was horrible. I just remember crying really loud as I was walking down the street. I was crying, boo-hooing, and I was thinking to myself, I know people drive by and see me, they're gonna think something's wrong, which something was wrong, but I was screaming. I didn't trust that God was going to fix this or to fix my heart. It was just too destroyed.
Was there any one person that was there with you throughout this entire process? Or did you feel like you're totally alone, period?
Looking back now, I see, the different areas that God had me in. Wow, I met several people that were going through things and that I was able to be a blessing to. I didn't even realize God was using me in those areas, but...
People from the church who had kind of helped you a little bit, who gave, kind of paid for a few things, throughout the year and kind of gave you like a housewarming somewhat. Maybe a couple ladies had sending you like a text or two every once in a while. Is that right? Or something like that?
Yeah, I did. There was a one particular lady that, wow, I just remember every single morning I would get a text. It would have either a scripture, very powerful scripture on there, or a quote, from someone very wise, something that would just be very uplifting. And no matter what, I would get it every morning. I'm thinking, wow, out of everything I know that she has going on in her life, she stopped and made sure that she reached out to me. She didn't have to call me. She knows who she is too, if you're listening. But she would make sure that I felt inspired or encouraged every day. At the time when you're going through something, oh, that's nice. Oh, that was good. And then over time, I'm thinking, wow, if it wasn't for that, my mind usually would get stuck on a thought and it would stay there, but then when I would see encouragement there, it just kind of combated those negative thoughts. She doesn't realize how impactful that was for me. And so to this day, I take those same principles. I take thoughts, concerns that I may have, and I write them down. And then right underneath it, I put God's truth right there to combat it. I put God's truth either highlighted or I write it in red to signify that that's God talking right there. So no matter what my thoughts are or whatever's going on in life, God's truth stands out. When you feel like you're barely holding on, there's ways that God shows up in your life, and he shows up in people, shows up, of course, in God, in his word. When you place yourself in different positions in different areas, he makes sure that the word and his love gets across to you so that you can know that he hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't forsaken you.
I listened to a story one time where a man or lady, whomever, that was a Christian and they lived next door to someone who's a non-believer. Mm-hmm. And they would hear this person praying a lot. They would constantly combat that person talking about, where's your God, where's your God, where's your God? Mm-hmm. So this individual who's a Christian did not have any money at this particular time. So they kind of lost their job, didn't have any food. Mm. didn't have any money at that time, so they were kind of struggling. So this person who was a non-believer heard that prayer.
I remember.
And then so this non-believer goes buy all the groceries and put the grocery at the door, thinking that they were mocking the individual at that time. But they said like, where's your God now? You lost your food, you lost your money. Where's your God now? The Christian said, well, he just used you.
Right.
Because you just brought me the food.
Yeah, so all along he's thinking, all right, God wasn't there for you, but I was.
Right.
No, fool.
No, God
used you.
So
he knows how to bless people, even through foods.
Thank you guys again for joining us, and thank you, Tiffany, for sharing all that. And if you got any questions, again, comments, please make sure you put that at the in the box, and we would love to talk to you.
Yep.
All right. Have a blessed
All right.
week.
Have a good one.